What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to learn how to use regular expressions in Python to validate input. So let us get right into it.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Alright, so we're going to talk about regular expressions in Python today. And for those of you who don't know what regular expressions are, they're essentially patterns that we can look for in strings and text. So for example, when a user inputs a username, we have certain criteria. For example, the username can only consist of lowercase letters and numbers or something like that. And we can use regular expressions to validate that. We can also do the same thing with certain codes. We can do the same thing with zip codes. We can do the same thing with emails or credit card numbers, whatever. We have certain formats, certain patterns that we're looking for, and we can use regular expressions instead of using if statements, if else statements, and so on. So we can use regex, regular expressions, to match or to find these patterns in strings. And in Python, we can work with regular expressions by just using a core Python module called RE. So we can say import RE. We don't need to install anything here in addition. It's just a core Python module. And then we can define a simple pattern. And I'm not going to teach you all of regex here because regex is quite complex. It can some regular expressions can be extremely complicated, so we're not going to talk about all the details here. I'm going to show you some basics. The focus is on using them in Python. We're going to start with a very, very simple one. It's just an uppercase word, and a word is defined by starting and then ending completely with uppercase letters. So a space is not allowed, an underscore is not allowed, lowercase letters are not allowed, numbers, digits are not allowed, no special characters are allowed. We just want to have uppercase letters from beginning to end. And in order to specify such a pattern, what we can do is we can say pattern equals re.compile. Now you don't have to compile a pattern. You can also just do match or search immediately without compiling a pattern first, but we're going to do it with a compilation because then we can use the pattern directly for searching and matching, and we don't have to specify the pattern every time. So the pattern that we're going to use is going to be the following. We're going to start with a simple anchor tag, and the anchor tag is essentially saying that whatever the pattern is has to start at the beginning. So this is the start of the string. This is the beginning of the string. If we don't do it, we can use we can look for the pattern inside of the string anywhere, but we want the whole string to be that pattern. So we're going to provide an anchor tag, and then we're going to say we only want to have uppercase characters, and we do that by providing square brackets and then a capital A dash capital Z. So all the letters from A to Z, which are uppercase, and then we're gonna end this with a $sign representing the end of the string. So now we're matching strings that start with an uppercase character and end with an uppercase character. Now one thing we forgot here, is that we need to add a plus, and the plus basically says that whatever we have here, in this case any uppercase character, has to occur at least once but can occur as many times as we like. So for example, the empty string would not be matched by this pattern, and also this string here would not be matched by this pattern. But the string J, for example, would be matched by this pattern because it's at least one uppercase character and nothing else. Also, something like this would be matched. And if you want to play around with this, if you're using PyCharm, you can just go into the string here and you can press Alt-Enter, and you can go to check regexp, and you can check if the regular expression matches the sample. So if I write something here, you can see it doesn't match the sample. If I have an empty string, it says also it doesn't match the sample. But if I now type uppercase characters, you can see that it matches the sample. Now, if we remove here the anchor tag, and we also remove the $, and I check the regex again, I can also provide some nonsense, and I can provide some uppercase characters, and it's still going to be matched because it's not the beginning of the string and not the end of the string, but we do have a chain of uppercase characters here. So the anchor tag in the beginning and the $sign in the end are important to say the whole string can only consist of whatever is in between here. So we can go ahead now and say, okay, give me a string. So we're going to print here the pattern dot search. And we're going to search for this pattern. We're going to start with a simple hello world. This is not going to work. Then we're going to say hello world in capital letters, but still with a space. And then we're going to say hello world, but without the space here in uppercase. And you can see here we have none, none, and then we have a match down here being hello world. Now, if I add something in the end here, it's not going to work because not the whole string is only consisting of uppercase characters. And you can see already how this works. You define a pattern. For example, it has to be an uppercase word and nothing else. And then you can just get any string and see if this string matches the pattern. So you can see if the string conforms with the rules that we define here. And in this case, they're quite arbitrary, not really important, not really interesting rules. We can also do the same thing with lowercase characters. So if I change the a to a lowercase a and the z to a lowercase z, now only lowercase characters will be accepted, which is why we get none, none, none. And if I change this now here to hello world, and if I change this here now to hello world without a space, you can see that we get the same result here. Only the last one found a match. So only in the last string did we find a match for this pattern, because this is the only string that only consists of lowercase characters. So I think if we remove the dollar and the anchor tag, we should find also something in the second string, which is hello. And here we can also find hello. Now, the difference between search and match, by the way, for those of you who saw that there is a match function, is that the match function, as far as I remember, looks into the whole string, whereas the search function looks only into the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not saying anything wrong here. No, sorry, the other way around. The search function looks in the whole string. So, for example, the search function finds hello here, even though the first character does not match this pattern, whereas the match function will only find it if it starts with that. So if it already starts with a lowercase character. So you can see the match here does not find the hello, which is lowercase, which fits that criteria, because the first character is an uppercase character, so it's already not finding a pattern, whereas the search function here, the search method, does find the hello, as you can see, because there is the pattern, even though it doesn't start, even though the string doesn't start with that pattern. However, if we add an anchor tag, as we did before, and a dollar, the whole string has to match the pattern. All right, so that's that. Now let's move on to some more fancy patterns. So first of all, let me show you that we can also allow for mixed case. So we can say A to Z. We can also say capital A to capital Z in the same bracket. So like that, this says that it has to be a lowercase or an uppercase character. And we can also add in here, just append here also a \s, allowing also for spaces. And now we're going to find all of those because we have a space, we have A to Z capital, A to Z lowercase. But if I add, for example, a number here like 8, it's not going to find a pattern here because that is a digit and a digit is not specified above. We can only have lowercase, uppercase characters and a space, which is the \s character here. All right, so let's do some arbitrary pattern. Let's say we have, I don't know, some game and we have certain keys that we want to check for, and we want to have the pattern. We're going to write this here as a comment now so that we don't lose the orientation here. We want to have 3 lowercase letters followed by 3 to 5 digits, followed by 1 symbol, a symbol being defined at any special character that is not a letter or not a digit, and I don't know, space maybe. And then we're going to say also we want to have afterwards 2 uppercase characters, or we can say up to 2 uppercase characters, because those are going to be optional. So that we can see what we can do here. So for example, what would be a possible code here? We could say HZU and then 6682 and then hashtag and then K. That could be a code that is allowed here. And we're going to check for that now. We're going to define a pattern that fits those criteria. So how do we do that? This is going to be a crash course briefly on regular expressions. Only the basics are going to be taught here. We're going to say that the string has to start, first of all, with the pattern. So we want to check that all of the string conforms to the pattern. So we're going to have an anchor tag and want to have a dollar here in the end. Everything is going to be in between. So what we do first is we say we want to have lowercase characters. How do we do that? A to Z, we already learned that. Now instead of saying plus, because plus means at least once and beyond that how many times you want, we're going to provide now the square, the curly brackets here, saying that we want to have exactly 3 lowercase letters. And then we're going to say 0 to 9, those are the digits. We want to have from those 3 to 5, and this is defined by saying 3, 5 in curly brackets. So this is the range, 3, 4, and 5 is allowed. Then we want to have one symbol. How do we define a symbol? Now, this is a little bit tricky. We're going to use the following definition here. We want to say everything that is not an uppercase character, is not a lowercase character, and is also not a digit will be considered to be a special character. So we're going to say A to Z, 0 to 9. In the beginning of those square brackets, so right after the square bracket, we're going to add another anchor tag like this. This is going to say not all of this. So not all of this, everything that's not part of this definition here once. And then we're going to say optionally, we can have two uppercase characters. How do we do that? Quite simple, A to Z. And we're going to say the range is 0 to 2. So 0, 1, and 2 are fine. This is the pattern. We can go ahead and play around with it. So if I say, for example, ABC 1, 2, 3, hashtag, and then some uppercase characters like that, this matches the pattern. And we can play around with that now. So I can say, for example, AHD 2, 3, 3, 1, then hashtag AJ, then maybe something else like LLL 4, 4, 5, 1, 1, and then, I don't know, point or dot K. And we can maybe copy this one here and remove the K because that's still valid. And now let's also add one that's not valid. So for example, ABC, this is still valid. And then I'm going to say 6 digits instead of something between 3 and 5. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can say, for example, hashtag, and the rest is going to be fine, like JJ. There you go, and you can see those are all matched. This one is not matched. So if we have a rule like that, we can write it as a regex. We don't have to do any if-else statements. We just have this pattern, and then this pattern is applied onto the string, and we look for it, we search for it. If we find it, we validate the string. We say, okay, now we have a match, so we can move on. And yeah, we can also look at one more quite simple pattern before we move to the final pattern, which can be quite useful here. And one very simple pattern, for example, is to just say, I want to have any character or I can have any string as long as it has a length of 10. So I can say, it doesn't matter what the string is, digits, special characters, letters, whatever, it has to have a length of 10. That's the only criteria. How do we do that? We say anchor tag, we say $, we say dot, the dot representing basically everything. So a dot, unless you escape it like that, because that's then the actual dot. But if you just say dot, this means any character whatsoever. And we can say, okay, I want to have whatever character 10 times. This is the string. And now I can just say print pattern dot search, and I can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I think H is, no, where's 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I, J. There you go. And then we're going to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can also do whatever we want. We can change this to a dot. We can change this to a hashtag. We can change this to a J. We can change this to a J as well. We can change this here to a space. Doesn't matter as long as it has the length 10. If I go now again with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and I add a K, or if I remove a J, in the end, those are not going to be matched because they don't have a length of 10. So quite simple. I think you get it. You get the basic idea of a regex. You define the rules, you apply them, you search for them. Now, last but not least, let's look at validating emails because that can be a quite a reasonable task, a quite useful task. And I'm not saying that we should do it the way I show it here today because I'm going to use a very simple regular expression because if you want to have a proper regular expression that really takes care of all the cases, you can not expect this to be as simple as what I'm going to show you here. Even though probably for those of you who are new to regular expressions, this is going to be quite complicated already. You cannot expect any regular expression that's that simple to validate emails properly with all the possible edge cases. So maybe you want to use a predefined library for that. However, we're going to say now pattern equals RE compound. We're going to say a simplified version of the email. In our understanding is that we want to have any name, like your email name, whatever it is. And this is going to be basically lowercase characters, uppercase characters, digits are also going to be allowed, and then a couple of special characters. For example, a dot, for example, a dash, and for example, an underscore. Now the dot needs to be escaped and the dash needs to be escaped as well. With the dot, I'm not actually sure if it has to be escaped in here, but we're going to escape it because otherwise maybe it's going to be interpreted as any character. The underscore does not have to be escaped. So basically that, however many times we want, but at least once, so basically a plus, followed by an @ symbol, so just the @ symbol here, which is going to occur exactly once. And then we're going to say, okay, again, lowercase characters, uppercase characters, and digits for the domain name. So for example, mail@neural9.com would be an email. This here would be the mail, this here would be the @, this here would be the neural9. Then this is going to be followed by, so first of all, this has to be plus again. Then this is going to be followed by a dot. Now, let me just make sure I'm not blocking this for you guys here. This is going to be a dot, and then we're going to say this dot has to occur exactly once, and then it's going to be followed by some ending like .com or .net or .de, .at, .uk or something like that. So we're going to say AZ, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't really matter. And this is going to be 2 or 3. Now, this is a very limited domain. So for example, or not domain, this is a very limited pattern, because let me show you that it works essentially. So I can say print pattern dot search, and I'm going to say now I have mail@neural9.com, for example. This is going to work. If I say something else like mymail@test.com, this is going to work. If I say my_fancy -e or .e-mail at fancyurl123.de. This is also going to work because that's a valid email. If I say something .something.com or something without an @ symbol here, for example, or if I just say something like mail at something without a dot in the end, this is also not going to work. So this, you can see right away, it finds these, it validates these emails, and it does not validate these emails. But the problem is, of course, that a URL like this one is fine. But if I have something like, for example, .game, I think we have some fancy domain names or domain endings like that nowadays, .game or I don't know if there's something like .travel or something like that. Those are not going to be possible. Those are not going to be recognized because, of course, we're limited to 2 to 3. Now, of course, you can also change this up to 9 or something, but the problem is then, okay, you allow again for a lot of stuff. So maybe you want to have a list, maybe you want to use a different approach. But this is one very simplistic way to check for emails. You can just define a simple regular expression like that. Let me repeat what it does. It takes basically any character that is a letter, a digit, a dot, a hyphen, or an underscore. We need at least one of those, but we can have as many as we want, then followed by one @ symbol, followed by any number of, at least one, but any number beyond that of letters or digits. By the way, we need to change this to a capital Z. Then followed by a dot, and then followed again by something between the length of 2 and 3 initially here. That is only consisting of characters, and this has to be the whole string. So yeah, this is how you use regular expressions in Python. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and bye.